Hello, this is an Indian speaking to speaking about an Indian thought, school of thought, and which is Samskara. Samskara, shouldn't be anyone, at least from India, who would not be knowing about the term. This is a Sanskrit term derived from two roots. Sam meaning well planned or well thought out, and Kri meaning the action. This is the root word. So, whatever we do, the action that we perform is actually, if it is a well planned or a well thought out action, then this should be called as samskara. If we shouldn't be trying to find out its philosophical meaning, then the root meaning should actually express the idea of a well planned or a well thought out action. Now, this has been the thought which baffled people, human beings, since the time he tried to assimilate his existence. The complex question of who is he and why is he? These two questions, when they drive a man, a human being, then he is supposed to be a sanskarit person. Now, a great Kannada writer by the name A.R. Ananthamurthy has written down a novel entitled Samskara. He tries to explore the reasons for the existence of man, but most primarily, what causes a man to perform an action? What makes up his plan to act? What are those driving principles which bring the impulse for action in any human being? So, samskara, as defined, is any of the personal sacraments traditionally observed at every stage of a Hindu's life, from the moment of conception to the final scattering of funeral ashes. A Hindu is one who lived in the big subcontinent, the Hind. And all those who belonged to this soil shared an idea of some tradition. Now, if we look up at the definition given by T.S. Eliot of tradition, or of anyone who has a rough idea of the term tradition, comes to believe that it is a term more of censor and less of glory. But we are to look at the world from the perspective of a Hindu, who would mean that tradition is every act, every sense of responsibility that is not made by us, but which comes from our lineage. Something of the past, something that gives us the idea for action, something that gives us an idea for a human life, for a really good life, So sanskara constitute the samskars in a human life, Hindu life, are the personal sacraments. Sacraments means traditional actions, performances, public performances which are observed at every stage of a Hindu life and which begin from the moment of conception. That means when first the idea of someone taking shape in the womb of a mother, from that stage on to the final stage of being uh, carried in that sacred pot to be given to sacred rivers. That means the final rites of surrendering this physical existence to the five elements. So, samskara are those rites which are performed. Now, to speak about the idea of the ceremonious observation of ceremonies, this novel will give us a glimpse of that division of Hindu society, the division which was set at the topmost, and which are the Brahmins. Brahmins, that means the ones who taught, who learnt and taught. Their main occupation was to learn and to teach. So, most of the ones, the Brahmins who we admire and hold in high esteem as sages, were the ones who first taught unto themselves the code of conduct which will be taken as exemplary. The word sanskara comes from the Sanskrit sam and kara, in addition to being generalized patterns. Now, this is important. The samskars are the generalized patterns that are evident throughout the expanse that is India. Samskars are individual impressions. Not only are they patterns, the commonly used, the commonly followed trends, but they are also individual impressions. So, if there is a woman who is very poor or is a widow and she learns that she has conceived, might be giving someone an impression of her adultery. Only few will try to rationalize that she has learnt only late about it, since she is a poor woman. So we all make impressions of the actions, of the patterns that exist in society, the ideas. Samskars are also the ideas. If I am driven to pity, or if I am driven to anxiety after seeing an approaching animal, it could mean this idea of mine is my samskar. If I believe the animal is approaching me for help, this is my sanskar. Or if I feel that it is about to gorge me to death, then again that is my sanskar. So, ideas that we have and actions resulting from them, taken together, all these things, the patterns, the impressions, the ideas, and the actions, all taken together, they make up our conditioning. So we are conditioned. What is conditioning? When something which is an occurrence of a kind that it moves into our psyche and it has us to formulate theories on that, then it is a sanskar. Samskars, therefore, are the impressions created in our minds and thoughts by our actions. So it is not that we see the action of someone and then what we formulate in our minds is the samskar. It is vice versa also. When we formulate an idea and then put that into action differently from the established samskars, then that also will be a samskar. These habits or samskars then begin to play a huge role in our personalities. And how does this motivate us? How does this play a role in our personalities? What are the roles played? That we are motivated in our thoughts. When you see someone perform someone and the person proclaims that that is the conduct of life, that is the way of life that he carries for himself, and if perchance he derives pleasure out of it, and this pleasure is evident, can be perceived that he is happy because of this. If he says that I perform this and this gives me happiness, then we are motivated in our thoughts. There is a kind of communication. There are actions and even how we view the world. So then we start viewing. So it generally happens that when we sit with our grandparents or parents in their very sensitive moods, then they generally reveal to us the secrets of how their foreparents emerged as from nobody to the great somebody that they are. Or even that differently, that if someone is in misery, he might say that this misery has been caused to me because of the actions of my foreparents who performed like this and this, which were degenerate ideas or degenerate actions. Then this is how samskars are transmitted. They are ideas. They are not only performances, they are also ideas, well thought after. The operative word is well thought after. Anything that you do should be given a thought, and because the thought processes of everyone, we all are experimental in our approach towards life. Life might have thrown out a, a, a situation before someone that might have caused us to believe that given this situation, if we act like this, we might be happy. Or otherwise, if we see someone fall from happiness to a state of joy, to a state of misery, then again we will be given to understand, and that will give us the idea of action. So when there is a perfect fusion of planned thoughts and action thereof, should be taken as samskara. This samskara is the story of Brahmins, a clan of the Brahmins that is called Agrihara. Agrihara is a community where Brahmins live, and in these there are two spokespersons prominently. One is Praneshcharya, who has given himself to celibacy, to the observation of celibacy, so much so that when he is asked to get married, he marries an invalid woman who is unable to carry herself, and he does all the chores for her. He washes her, he gives her food, he prepares everything, gives her medicine, administers medicine with the well thought after idea that doing service to human beings might provide him with the ultimate salvation, that is the moksha. This man is revered too much in the community, and he is taken as an icon of goodness. The Brahmins have the idea of the Brahmanity from him. So he now the question that comes is, should a novel hold someone who causes awe amongst all others? How would he then be taken as? He could appear as a fictitious character, because someone who is so good as that is not going to generate any kind of inspiration among the readers. So, as a foil to him, is there another Brahman called Naranappa. And this Naranappa is a man given to carnal pleasures. He enjoys life as it ought to be. He drinks ale. He eats the flesh of animals, which is actually a very abhorrent idea for all Brahmins. He does it, and he has friendship with the Muslims, an idea which a 60th century society of Brahmins would never allow for. He lives with Brahmins, and he has a concubine from a very low caste, or rather a dasi, a complete untouchable. That was the idea in those times. So he indulges in all kind of physical pleasures. On one end is the Praneshcharya, and on the other end is the Naranappa. Praneshcharya has a very well thought after samskar, and which he performs in service to an invalid wife and in his studies of the scriptures and his teaching of those scriptures to the young people, so that he has the continuum of these samskars into the coming generations as well. And on the other side is Naranappa, who is on a way of living which no one, the Brahmins certainly would not, but not even the others would approve of the way. And a turn in their lives come when Naranappa dies. Now, as we say that the last samskar performed on the body is the daha sanskar, the cremation. Now the question, now is the society moved to bring into exercise their well thought after ideas on which they would act. So the sum and kri, the sums and the kri, the well after thought that would be put into action, and the person who exhorts the people to do something is Chandri, the prostitute who had lived with Naranappa. What will become of these Brahmins who ought to have been real intellectuals, but their backwardness? Anantamurti definitely had an idea of the backwardness of the group of the people that were the Brahmins in his novel. How will these intellectuals act, and how will this bring a change in the lives and in the outlooks of the living man, Praneshcharya? How will he react, and what will be the outcome if he wishes to act upon the impulse of charity, the impulse of goodness that had driven him all his life to care for his wife Bhagirathi. So, how these four characters, these handful of characters, will inspire us to have a balanced view of what can be understood as the samskara. We shall continue. This is all for today. Thank you.